this is Kitten Features, and you're listening to Show X Live with Ken in a student accommodation all the way in Scotland, and Wayne in his white windowless van? Uh-oh, I better get out of here. Enjoy the show!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Show X on VTWProductions.com. You're listening live at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT this Sunday, the 11th of November, 2018. Welcome to the show. And hey, everybody, how's it going, Ken?
Hello, sir, from what I can hear.
It is still acting ugly and terrible for you, you're saying?
It's the robots. They've returned.
That is super annoying for me, because I keep trying to keep this clean and going, and I don't know what's been going on. But we're on, we're live, so hopefully everybody's there to listen to us now. Sorry that I had to break things just before starting, as I wasn't sure if the crackling and things like that were being caused from just my computer being on all week, or what. So I tried to restart things to get us all nice and clean and ready to go. So as always, let us know if we have audio issues and stuff, but we'll try to get things kicked off today with a little bit of
dysfunctional deviations.
So for our dysfunctional deviations, Ken, what have you been up to this week?
Well, my second eldest sister-in-law has had her 18th birthday yesterday.
Yes!
So she came over to Scotland.
I saw that.
Yeah, it was good fun. So she came round and we, well, I can't talk too much about it because, you know, I never know who's listening, and I want to protect her identity and everything. But she had a lot of fun.
Okay, good.
We enjoyed drinking, and we had lots of fun, did lots of fun stuff. I was the official chauffeur for the weekend, so I was up till it was 2:30 this morning. I went and picked them up from a friend's house as they were out having fun all night. So I feel hungover because I'm just so tired.
I hate that feeling.
Yeah, so that was not so good. I want to give a shout out to two things just now. One, first of all, probably most importantly of all, is that it's been 100 years since World War I armistice. So that's pretty amazing. It's been 100 years since the World War I is completed, since the last shots were fired. And that's, you know, as they say, the war to end them all. Not quite so, but it's pretty. I think it's very important that we look back and remember these days, because it's you know, it's how we still have our freedom. It's how we still have the freedom to express ourselves, our social freedoms, the ability to do as we please and say what we please, and not be ruled by fascist governments. And so it's a big thing. And so just a mention of thank you to all those who lost their lives, who had to take the choice of not growing old and saving everybody else, or otherwise. And so thank you for their sacrifice, I guess.
Absolutely. And for us here in the U.S., that's essentially, it's our, for us, it's Happy Veterans Day, as we celebrate it too. The 11th of November, the 11th of the 11th month, when everything finished at 11, what was assigned at 11 p.m. and such. And so, yes, it sounds like everybody is saying they're having difficulty hearing you on your end. So, Ken, I think we may try to do as you suggested and do the Skyping of things. Now, the challenge I'm going to have with that is I have to set up the audio for it and make sure that it is happy and is willing to do what I need it to. So I'm going to try to switch things over on that end and make sure that it's ready for you. And we will try to switch over. Let me see if I can give you a call on the Skypes and see if this works on our end. As we try to do this real time, hopefully this will work. Are you there?
Hello, I am. You're still roboting to me.
Am I? Let's see. Well, because that's going to be through this engine. Hopefully, does that do any better?
Yep, that fixed it again. Okay, let me try.
And what I might do for your perspective, just so it doesn't robot anymore, and I'll have to set up your camera on this one, but for microphone, instead of sending you the whole things, send you my direct audio. It'll keep it from roboting on your end.
That would be really good.
We'll see how this goes.
Also, it looks like my webcam quality seems to be better. At least it seems so on my end.
Keep trying to adjust things to see what's best for the show between, Skype and Discord and who knows what else. We will eventually figure out the best. Anyhow, so yeah. You were talking to us about your sister-in-law's birthday, and that it was much fun. Great fun.
Yep. So that was good fun. There was a couple of things this week. So I was supposed to go to and present some of my work in the form of a poster at an event nearby, but I had teaching obligations, so I couldn't go. So that was a little bit of a shame. I almost had a free trip to Aberdeen, but I couldn't make it, sadly.
Oh no.
I had my teaching class test this week, so my students had a class test, and that was as stressful for me as I think as it was for them, because I was stressing about how they'll do and all that kind of thing, and they'll get the results back soon enough. I can't really talk more about it, but it's always strange because I wrote the whole test, like unlike previous years where it's been very coding based, practical based. This was actually, they had actually a class test now. This is the first time I've ever conducted a class test that I've written, so it was a bit stressful. What else happened? My dogs had their vaccinations, so that was good. They're happy pups. We almost died today.
What?
Me and Kitten on the road. So we were driving back from the airport after dropping my sister-in-law off, and so we were joining the motorway, and when you join the motorway, you get up to speed in the side lane, and then you join traffic before the lane disappears. It's quite important that you do that, right? That's what you're supposed to do. You don't sit and wait like some people do, because that's actually against the law. What you're supposed to do is join into the traffic, and traffic should make way for you. To an extent, you don't be a dish about it or anything, right? So we were joining traffic, and I looked in, and I saw there was like a large car, maybe like 100 feet behind me. So I was like, oh, plenty of space. Absolutely no problem. Like there's about, 10 car widths between us. It was really no problem. So I pull out in front of this person. I then hear them honk at me. And I sort of thought to myself, oh, that's strange. Is my petrol like thingy open? Or I don't know, is one of my blinkers broken? Are they trying to, I don't know what's going on here. Are they trying to inform me of something? Then they pulled out. They slammed on the accelerator, because I was already going the speed limit at this point, 70 miles per hour. They slammed on the accelerator, must have hit about 90, caught up to me, put on the brakes, so they started to slow down just in front of me, and pulled out right in front of the car. It must have been about 3 inches from hitting our car. Like, just pulled out directly in front of us for no reason. And I blasted the horn to sort of say, like, don't know if you meant that, but I'm here, watch out, I don't know why this is happening. Thankfully, about 10 seconds later, they did a sharp turn off the motorway onto a side road. But like they did that, it was like they made it more difficult for themselves. Like they could have just turned left without harassing me and gone off the motorway. There was no reason to go around me and cause me to slam the brakes on. It was completely unnecessary, and it was very dangerous. I was saying to Kitten that I kind of hoped that I kind of wished that they did actually hit us, because their car was much nicer than our car, and if they did that to us on the road and we crashed, they'd just pay off our car and we have to get a new one. What a shame that would be. I wouldn't actually complain if that happened, but it was just it was such a dangerous situation that I don't know why some people think these things are okay. I mean, it was worse than brake checking, like really chancing about pulling out their car and estimating the width and the length of their car in front of mine. It was really quite dangerous.
No, that is scary to hear. No, I'm glad everything's safe, because yikes. And I
Yeah,
don't know,
I mean,
why do people feel like they need to be that way?
I don't know. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. The other shout out that I was going to give and I forgot about, got on my calendar here. It's actually my granddad's. It's an anniversary of my granddad's death.
No, no.
Who I'm actually named after, my namesake. So Granddad Kenneth. He passed away in 1981. So I never met him. So
Oh, gotcha.
just wanted to give that shout out. I guess that was kind of interesting. My dad went off to the cemetery with my uncle, and they did their thing today. Said their thoughts. I can only imagine what it's like to know that you've lost your parent over 45 years ago. That's nuts.
Wow.
I just can't imagine that. And my dad is now older than his dad was when his dad died, right? So I think my dad's late 50s, and my granddad was 56 when he died. So my dad's now older than my granddad was, which is also must be a scary thought for him. I think it's always a strange thing to realize that you outlive your parents.
Yeah, that's one of those things that it's kind of the things how parents shouldn't outlive their kids, and it's when you've lived longer than someone that you follow behind that just, yeah, you start to kind of go like, oh man, it's a real thing.
Yeah, it's scary. But yeah, that's all I wanted to mention for this week. I don't really have anything else, I believe. It's kind of cheesy, but it's Kitten and I's first date anniversary. So I'd like to take her out, ideally.
Oh, nice.
We haven't planned anything yet, but I'd like to take her out. If I can try and manage something for lunchtime or something and be back in time for the show, I'll try and aim for that, and I'll let you know what's going on. But just a possibility, I might not be on next week.
Well, that's okay, because I did want to say that next week, if you are wonderful, if not, understood, but we are planning to have a guest next week, at least here locally, which is our friend, the author, John Wasik, as he wants to come on and talk a little bit about his book series and things he's planning on doing with that. So, yes, he's planning to be on next week, so hopefully that will work out. And so hopefully you will be here, but if not, just so everyone knows, we will still have more than just me on the show next week.
Okay, that works out quite nicely then, actually, because that means that you won't be all alone if I'm not on the show.
Exactly. So that should be good. But yeah, no worries there. And please, if nothing else, definitely enjoy your time out with Kitten Features. Thank you very much. That should be your priority. So do that.
Thank you. Right. So what have you been up to, sir?
Well, other than I can't seem to get this version of OBS to capture the Skype window so that people can see your beautiful face. Instead, it's just, a blank square right now. And I don't want to put up one of the things that says you're out because you're not out.
That's fine. That just means I can...
I think I have the one where I can say, haha. I can say, Ken is audio only.
There we go.
I can put that one up.
I'll tell you what, I'll turn off the video as well. That way that we're saving bandwidth and might actually help you.
We will see. I'll have to play with this in the future because, unfortunately... Microsoft has basically given up on traditional Skype on the old desktop one. It has gone solely to their, Windows app version. And so I can't find the original Skype. I can only do the Windows app, which is the one that it seems to not want to allow me to capture video for. Grr on that. Oh, well.
Slight tangent, by the way. Hando was talking in the chat. He was suggesting I move to Boston because nobody ever dies there, apparently. Trust me, immortality is something I would definitely chase if I could.
Yeah, if it was easy enough to capture, that'd be all over it.
Yep, I think Boston would be overflowing with homeless immortals. But Hando, I actually had a dream about you last night. I dreamed that we met, weirdly enough. So it's strange that you say that. I think I dreamed that we'd known each other for some years now in person. And I turned to say to you, I think we're like in a workplace or something. And I turned to say to you, do you remember when we knew each other only online and now we've met so many times in person, it's normal now or something? And then that was that.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was strange. But there you go. I think it's because I've been playing so much Factorio with Hando in recent weeks.
Spending that good gaming quality time together.
Yeah, which I'll talk about more in the Geek Cred section.
Awesome.
But that is everything for me, sir. So how have you been in the past week?
Oh gosh, how have I been? I've been busy doing various random all kinds of things. What did I want to throw out there probably for everyone to know? I've been trying to level up my life a little bit. Skill-based stuff. Probably I don't know if it's entertaining or otherwise, but something I did do is that thankfully I'm no longer having to run space heaters in my house right now, because I took a stab at trying to fix my HVAC unit yet again. It's been a constant learning exercise for living my home. And this time, admittedly, when it died, the motor died, it was somewhat my own fault. Basically, I didn't really address the core problem. I just kind of patched it to make sure I could continue to push air through the house to stay alive.
It's a worthy attempt, though. I mean, like, if you a solution is better than no solution, right?
Well, and it held for a bit, and thankfully I actually listened to my cousin, because he mentioned, it's like, yeah, I'm hearing a rattling again, because the challenge has been it basically gets off balance, and the squirrel cage, which is the rotary type fan that gets blown, gets off enough that it starts banging against the enclosure, and at high RPM, which these fans do, that's not good. So this time when I yanked it apart, it looked, and sure enough, what had happened is it has 4 prongs that come off the electric motor that spins the cage, and it kind of sits into the middle of the cage, the motor does, with a shaft in it, and spins it around itself. And then the motor is held to the enclosure by these 4 different brackets that come off at each corner of it, and then attached to the housing. And the problem was one of those brackets had sheared itself off of the motor. And the reason it had done that is because there was enough vibration and shaking in the motor and everything that over time it just kind of, it wore that metal thin and it broke itself off, and then it just kept banging around. So I yanked it out, and right in time for Colorado to decide that it's now winter. And for those who unfortunately can't see up, I was hoping that it would allow for the background to be able to be seeing it. Instead you just see this white box behind me. But it is snowing outside right now in Colorado. But since you guys can't see that, I will take away the bright background. But no, it was
beautiful, beautiful snow. I'm jealous.
So it is snowing outside, and right as my heat decided to stop blowing again, or the fan break, it turned down to like the 40s here, down into essentially the teens and single digits Celsius, as it started getting cold. And thankfully, this isn't my first time this has happened, so I didn't have to do the same reactionary, like, oh, crud, what do I do? I gathered the 3 space heaters that I have in my house and spaced them around to kind of keep them on, to keep the house generally warm enough to survive. Now, granted, I sacrificed the one from my bedroom to kind of keep the main house warm. And in doing so, I woke up several mornings where in my bedroom it was under 60 degrees. And so, let's see. Just so I can do the math very well. So it was under 15 or 15 and a half degrees Celsius in my bedroom waking up. Which,
oh, that's chilly. Yeah.
Yep, would make it so I was less desiring to jump out of bed as fast, stay under the blankets and sit there like, ah. And so, but, so it just turned cold, so I turned the heaters on and such, and I started looking around. I was like, okay, I could try to do what I've done in the past and order yet another motor to try to fix this problem. In fact, I had the previous motor, that similar thing had happened where the brackets had shimmied off, and I'd found this other model that I thought the brackets would be better. So got those together. I was like, all right, let's try this solution. Well, I didn't want to do it again and just spend the same money for one. So instead, I started thinking, how could I fix the bracket? I initially tried to do some soldering. I have a new soldering iron, stuff like that, to get some good metal solder. Well, that wasn't sturdy enough, and trying to heat up the base enclosure enough to be able to solder directly to it just wasn't happening. Plus, the enclosure had a bunch of powder coating on it to try to keep it safe from the raw metal not showing, so I couldn't do anything with that. So eventually, due to I've spent too much time on the internet and looking at YouTube and things, I decided maybe I would be able to learn a new skill. And I figured, how else to fix something like this motor bracket than to weld it together? Because welding's a thing people do.
Okay.
So, I don't know what I had seen first. Like, I don't think I started with the welding. I think I'd gone through projects where I was watching a bunch of I've been focusing on a lot of do-it-yourself rebuilds and fixing shows and stuff like that, all the way from, I've told you, the people who do motherboards and things like that, that I've watched with Rossman, to this gentleman who has been ripping apart Tesla cars and rebuilding them himself. And so I'm really a big fan of the whole right to repair movement and having the right tools and skills and diagrams and stuff to do your own maintenance. And I'm equally kind of sad that we continue the world to move in a direction where less and less people are able to fix the items we own. So when things break, we're in societies, at least in the U.S., and I think it's expanded out to a lot of other countries, where when something breaks, you're more likely to just go replace it with something new than you are to figure out what's wrong and fix it. I don't know if that's true in your area or not.
To be honest, I think most people are pretty lazy with these things, and we tend to just buy new things when they break. We don't tend to think anything else.
Well, at the same time, though, even a lot of our repair shops have gone away. I remember when I first moved here and had an issue with the computer monitor, I took it to a repair shop to see if they could fix the monitor. They couldn't, and in essence, I ended up having to go and replace it. But even those shops I knew existed are gone. So there's, a lot of those like fine electronics and things like that have just gone by the wayside. So I'm fearful that most of those things have gone away. So I'm trying to learn those skills. And so what I ended up doing is watching a bunch of these channels. I saw someone come up with like the cheapest welder on Amazon. Is it any good? And I was like, okay. Started watching, and the guy was actually pretty impressed. Looked around. Unfortunately, the one that he had specifically reviewed and found to be surprisingly good was no longer the $115 that he had got it for, but instead had jumped up in value to like 160-ish or so. And so
Probably
I started looking
at his review.
It may have been because I suddenly got very popular. And so then I went forth and just bought one in that kind of range. In fact, the one he had was sold out, but one that looked about the same, had a lot of good reviews and such. And I got up a very basic DC inverter stick welder. Basically like a MIG welder, but just a stick one. And I watched a bunch of videos. There are ones where you hook up the one side of the power to the metal itself that you're welding to, and the other side you put an electrode with a stick in it that has flux built around it, essentially. And you create an arc, and basically it's doing arc welding. And with that, you slowly start to deposit that metal onto it. It heats the metal with it and kind of binds it all. The basic idea of it. So I looked online, and it was one of those things where it's like, sure, YouTube says this isn't too hard. I'll give it a shot. So I acquired all the things needed based on reviews and YouTube videos and reading things up. Got hold of a welder, got a good welding mask, got gloves, picked up, what else did I grab? I mean, everything that I believe I would need to be able to weld and not die, essentially was what I was after.
Not dying is good, yep.
Well, and because this goes back to, I've done a few repair things myself where people don't necessarily advise it, because there are some things that are in some levels dangerous. I always go back to the one I do where people kind of look at me like, what were you thinking? And I do, what did I rip apart? Or when I replaced the springs on my garage door and such.
That sounds pretty dangerous, because those must be really tightly wound. And that's when we talked about that. Remember, we said it could like pierce a man's like heart, right? It can like, there's so much kinetic energy that they can like barge through somebody, right?
Yeah, well, it's because as it's wrapped up with so much strength that the way you have to do it is they can actually give you these two pipes, and there's a part on the end that as you rotate it, you're supposed to rotate one pipe and then put the other one in and brace it against the door so that it can only ever fall back on itself about a quarter turn. And it's got enough torque on it that it would otherwise go bang, 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 bang. And so the fear is if it lost and you didn't have them fully secured in there, a spring unwinding with that much torque and power and speed could cause much damage across the board, essentially. So yeah, I was just like, what?
Okay.
So that's when, but I ended up doing it just fine to myself. No worries. Got it done.
And to be fair, it's because you heeded the warnings, though, right? You pay attention to the warnings. I mean, the warnings are there not to make you not do the task, but to be careful while you do the task. Right?
Yeah, no, it's saying it's totally possible. You can get all these things yourself and no problem doing it. Just be aware. Don't kill yourself. Don't do something stupid. Don't try to take a shortcut. And so that's kind of the recommendations of it.
Don't be the dumb.
Yeah, exactly. So anyhow, this way I decided, okay, I'll do this and put together. I was like, maybe I can weld this metal back together. It seems like welding is a solid thing and it binds metal all the time. And so we'll do that. And so I started getting everything together, and I practiced a few things and did some base welding. And anyone who's ever welded before would probably look at my stuff and laugh is probably not the right word.
Cringe, maybe.
Yeah, probably cringe. My welds are ugly. Ugly. In fact, I'll post on social media because I took some
good
pictures
welding
of it.
can be so pretty, though.
Oh, it can. And I watch videos that made me say, like, yeah, look at that. Oh, yeah. And so, no.
It's like an art form.
Oh, it's beautiful. And I mean, that's why there's artwork from it and such. But I was able to get through. And I smart enough, I picked up some, I got all the welding stuff, went outside. And part of it, I was sitting there like, like, crap, can I, what was I thinking? I was like, how do I practice this myself, and where do I do it? Because there's gases that come off of it, so you don't want to be indoors. You don't want to be near anything flammable because of the sparks that come off of it and things like that. And so it's just all these pieces you want to take care of to make sure that it is as safe as you can. And unfortunately, my garage is completely filled with stuff right now, and my basement wouldn't be a good place to do it because that's indoors and the wood floor and such. So I was just like, I don't know. So I was initially going to go out to my front driveway where the cars would be parked, move those, and have a bunch of concrete slab to weld on. Thought, oh, perfect solution. But then I thought about it, except that the other piece of it is you want to wear the mask that darkens. Mine's an auto-darkening one, but have this dark mask because the sparks can be so bright that they will sear your retinas.
Yeah,
right?
damage your retina.
They will damage your vision. So then I thought maybe I shouldn't do it in my front driveway where somebody walking down the street could just look over and be like, what's he doing? Sparks in the air, blind someone randomly. I thought, probably not the best idea. So...
do the maker spaces near you offer anything that can do welding type stuff?
Probably, but I'm kind of in that solution where I try to make my house capable of doing everything myself.
Well, yeah, but you for a one-off thing, it might be.
One-off. What do you mean one-off thing? Just like when I rebuilt the engine in my car and put it in my garage, it doesn't have to be one-off. It's just it's an excuse to get new tools. And so I'd already got stuff. So what did I do? I went out the side door of my garage into my little backyard. It has a concrete step. And so I used that as my base to weld on. So I was welding on the concrete, cleared around the debris away from it mostly. So some little leaves and stuff, but for the most part, good. I'm ready. Got this. And I went to the hardware store. I picked up some metal, I was trying to find scrap metal. I realized I don't have any just scrap metal pieces around my house. And so I was going around the garage like, where's some metal I could practice on? Nope. So I went to the hardware store and picked up I was walking around like, all right, I should get some steel and I should get some aluminum. Because someone told me that the basing of it might have been aluminum. And I wasn't sure. I was like grabbing the metal going like, how do you know what kind of metal this is? And it's like, so if it was aluminum, I think it's steel. Because if it was aluminum for the gauge it would have been really easy to flex. But yeah. Yes, Hyde. Everything on that side of the house there is dead, and therefore it's easy for me to work with that side of the house. Meh. But no, I went in, got some scrap metal essentially, or just cheaper metal, spent like $20-$30 on some metal and various things just to be like, all right, now I have stuff to practice welding. And so I got it all set up, went out to the house, and I was reading stuff up, and things said like, do this inverter at 90 amps is what these are for, so it should work. And so I started trying to strike my first weld. I mean, I even went through and reread the book again, sitting there before I did anything. Like, which connection do I touch where? Because you're essentially building an arc of a high electrical conduit next to each other. And so you don't want to be the thing that bridges that arc. Because then it goes through you. So instead, decided like, okay, I will, again, I actually researched everything. It came out fine in the sense I did not hurt anything. But as I started welding, and I do not know how to stick weld. I never went through shop class in school. In fact, most schools don't even offer it. I've never taken any trade on it. This is strictly YouTube learning at its best or worst. And so I got everything set up. I was like, all right, screw it. Time to go. What else got to do? So I kept some YouTube videos up, just playing on my phone as I'm like, let's not die. Bing, right? And the worst part is I was ready for it. Put the mask down. I'm like, And even with the mask and auto darkening, I've never used one. So I was like, will it darken fast enough to save my eyes? I don't know. It says it'll do it in 1/25,000th of a second. Okay. And so as I'm trying to strike it, I'm also like somewhat looking away from it, even though I have the mask on, and like squinting my eyes. Like, I don't know what's about to happen. But I go, and the worst part is I start going and nothing. I go click, nothing. Like, wait, checking all, it's supposed to work. Nothing. Like, what's going on? I'm still not sure exactly, and sometimes it seems like the arc starts a little slower. But I don't know if enough electricity had built up in the metal or such. I don't know how it works. And actually, what I think it is the electrode at the very end, I think, might have had just a little bit of extra flux over the end, so the metal wasn't touching it to start the arc. Finally, it connects, and that first thing is such a loud, just like, of electricity hitting, and the electrode, and I keep doing this, I haven't got my technique down, it actually is fusing the electrode to the piece, like first I'm like, just, and then I have to like break it off, the tip again, and then, because what you're trying to do is get it just close enough to get the electricity to arc between the electrode and the thing you're welding, and to maintain that arc, which then creates enough heat to melt the electrode into it and start fusing it. And then, yes, this is stick welding. And it sticks a lot. And eventually I was able to get a few solid beads going where it would continue to melt and keep an arc together as it's going, and it starts eating the electrode as you go through. And I was able to do a couple welds. It took me a while before I could do a solid bead. For a while, it was just like, and I was constantly breaking. Oh, it was a mess. Eventually, I got to the point on my little test steel, I was able to get constant weaves. In fact, I finally got to a point where I took a picture of my testing where I got back and forth my second day trying, where I was able to do some solid welds that overlapped and such like that. So, like, almost looked like one of the videos. I mean, ugly as sin. My speed is not constant, let alone how I let the electrode eat. And so it's like stop, start, thinner, thicker, faster, slower. It is such a mess for me to do.
It is your first time. You can't expect to be the best.
No, I give myself some like fluff for knowing that yes, I'm trying to weld by myself without any instruction other than the internet. So it's not going to be pretty the first time. I don't have a table I'm working on. I'm squatting on the ground with a concrete slab leaned over it in a way that's probably not ideal. So I understand all the reasons that it could have been worse. But eventually I got a bead going, and I tried it on a couple things. What's funny is the first time I had done it, I also got a little L bracket with this flat plate of steel. And I couldn't get a bead, but I got a couple just little pieces that kind of were between the two. I was like, well, that was ugly as sin, but oh well, let me start over. And so I went to actually try to rip apart the two pieces of steel. Even though I had only touched the welds in like one spot like a 1/4 inch and another couple spots not even an 1/8 an inch long, they are fused. And I was banging it against the ground like they are not relieving. No, that is a solid piece now. So even though my welds are terrible, they're very functional.
Hey, so, that is what it's for, right? Function before elegance.
And it is what it is, right? It's what it's supposed to do. So the funny part is that gave me at least enough confidence that it would hold that I was like, screw it, let me move to my actual project and grab these motors I want to work on. Thankfully, I had the old motor and the new one, so I was going to start with the old motor and see if I could at least get beads on it initially before moving to the newer motor where I only had the one piece to weld. And I also, before doing that, tried some aluminum. And with the aluminum, I was like, all right, if it is aluminum, let's see what it might work like. You know, again, thinking ahead, trying to prepare myself. So I got an arc on the aluminum eventually and was like, oh, it's getting a good bead. Yeah, look at this. This is great. And then when I pulled the mask off and looked at it, half that aluminum was gone. So apparently yeah. So the amperage I was running and everything with it for aluminum, trying to use the sticks I had, it just ate like this. It just gnawed this piece of the aluminum out and just burnt through it, where I was like, hope the motor's not aluminum. As if so, that'll be a quick end of a project. So played with it, and then thankfully I actually did some more reading and more watching videos, because one of the things that came out was I was talking about some of the, what was I trying? Because I looked up specifically stick welding aluminum as well. But the type of electrodes you use and how much amperage you did, I had misread the thickness of the electrodes I was using. And so I was at 90 amp, and I thought I was in the range of the electrodes that you're supposed to go between, was it 90 and like 100 and something amps, 140? Instead, I was using thinner electrodes that really only required 60 to 100 amp. So I was like, ooh, because the other thing I did after sticking a few times, unfortunately, I don't have 220 volt wired anywhere in my house. So I'm running off, and I got an inverter that does 110 and 220. So if I ever upgrade it, it can do both. And I went and got an extension cord that's really thick gauge, 12 gauge extension cord, because they said you really don't want to use an extension cord. You want to plug directly into your outlet. Yeah,
there's a lot of power going through that. You don't want to have something taking over.
Absolutely. So I definitely went and got like the thickest gauged and a fairly short extension cord that I could. 25 foot, 12 gauge, works good, didn't get warm. But enough of those contacts kept hitting, and having only 2 plugs to choose from in the garage, I popped circuits a couple times in my breakers. So I was like, and then doom, gone. I looked, I was like, I see the garage lights just off. I was like, I know what I did. So nice thing is when I figured out the electrode thing and turned it down to about 70 amp, after I was at there, even though it was a lot harder to strike an arc it up initially from it, I didn't pop any more breakers. So that was nice. But eventually,
nice, well done.
I got a really ugly set of welds on these motors that I have and was able to take it together. And I had to scrape a bunch of the coating off to get to the metal to be able to let the electricity get through. So then afterwards, I got welds that are just hideous. But I tested them and they were solid as could be. And from there, I went and I grabbed some engine paint that has some 500-degree engine paint and painted over it to just cover it up, so hopefully to minimize the ability for the raw metal to get exposed to moisture or anything like that, and maybe rust. And said, screw it, it's supposed to be snowing tomorrow. Let me try to put this back in my HVAC and see if it'll work. Because I, much like my cosplay and other things, decided to go ham on projects. And so I took this electric motor, put it all back in. I did do another thing where I got all solid in there, found out that one of the mounts that you screwed into the housing was also loose. So I was like, So I rotated it to these other holes and got it solid, put the cage back on, the fan part, rotated it around and let it spin till it stopped a few times to see if it was balanced. Hot. And checked it, and it seems like it was balanced. So I put it all back in, stuck it back together, kicked it on, and it is not, well, it's vibrating because it's a motor spinning a cage super fast, but less than I've had it vibrate in years.
Oh my god, well done! Hey, that's a success story. I was grimacing there. I was expecting and then it flew off the wall and tore a hole in the, I don't know. I was expecting something terrifying.
Oh gosh, so
well
whenever I have had, because I've had those motors out of that HVAC multiple times. Too many for a homeowner that you should. But damn it, I'm not paying another $1,000 for someone to come do it for me.
Damn right.
So I got in there. Well, and honestly, the amount of money I spent learning to weld this thing and to get started on at least having the materials to do it cost me maybe $50 more than replacing it with another motor.
What you spent was money on knowing that you could do it, right? You didn't spend it on the skill. You spent knowing that you can actually fix these things. So
That's
you can do
the thing.
Future.
Yeah, no, I absolutely invested some time, effort, and money in learning a new skill, or at least getting the taste of it to let me know that I am now not afraid to now take on some potential welding projects. Along with, like I said, soldering and trying to resolder some electronics so I can fix more and more of the things in my house. I want to fix my electronics on my television upstairs. I want to fix the electronics on my sound system for my Logitech Z5500 system because those are $1,000 new if you try to find them. I want to fix, and actually with the welding, I want to weld the pipe on my Miata so that I actually have the turbo working correctly and so I can fix the exhaust. And these are all now things that are in my realm of possible since I have the tools and I've at least touched on the skills to do it. Will I be able to do it right the first time? Nope. But I am going to do my best to keep leveling myself up and practicing some more. But now I can weld-ish, sort of. Started. Lots to learn and only basic at this point, but I will be trying to install 220 into both my basement and into my garage. So as I keep buying new parts and pieces and tools, I'll have the right power to run them. Because that'll hopefully help it maintain a good arc as well, and I will be doing more welding in the future. But it's worked, and we'll see how long it lasts. I have both motors. I put the newer one in there. The old one's still sitting there, which I scorched a little bit with the welding, but I think it's solid, I think. And so we'll see. Nice thing is there's now heat throughout my house evenly again versus, space heaters and a frozen bedroom. So that's nice.
Hey, that is number one, especially when it's snowing outside, man. Well done.
Yeah. So that was a thing. What else?
I should also mention, you're asking about the UK and how we do with self-repairs and stuff. There is one concern in the UK, which is, generally speaking, there's a lot of health and safety regulations. And if you want to do anything, you'll often compromise your own insurance or your homeowner's insurance or your auto insurance or whatever if you're trying to do anything yourself and you're not qualified or certified. So it's generally speaking better to just replace it, just to get something replaced than risk losing,
Well, there is that, right? Insurance stuff, things like that, which they talk about. But I mean, I installed all the wiring in my basement for all the outlets there. I have done so many things myself. It's part of my weirdness that I always say I'm a, jack of all trades, master of none, is that I just am always wanting to learn and try new things. If I feel like it's not beyond my capacity to understand the concept of something, then I'm always like, why shouldn't I just do it myself? I mean, now I'd say that at the same time, I recommend for others, if it is beyond your capability to do the quality of a job you need done for that specific case to keep it safe and to get things done, or within your timeline of when you want things to be accomplished, then it's probably worth spending money for someone else to do it, someone who's expert and knows what they're doing. Equally, if it's going to take, I would say, based on what you get paid normally, your hourly rate, think of that whenever you're going to cost out a job. If it's going to take you so many hours that it's really going to cost you more to do it yourself than it would just to pay someone, then pay someone. Now, for me, I do run into that equation. My desire to learn and try new things outweighs a lot of times that cost benefit. And so I will do that often. And this is one of those cases where I've made the decision to instead, I'm going to learn this myself. I have never welded and always wanted to. Darn it, I'm going to do this. And so I'm kind of excited that I accomplished it. And just like I was able to rewire and fix, it's not wire, get new bulbs, replug in and figure out the lights in my office so that my regular lights are working again, not just the studio ones. And what else have I been doing? Like maintenance around the house. Weird, odd. I'm an old, I am a domesticated person and I have to maintain this ridiculously large home I own. So I've been doing that. It doesn't help that I've also now been watching a bunch of Netflix shows like the old West Coast, was it West Coast Customs? The car shows and stuff where they build cars and projects like that. So I see a lot of what they do and I was like, oh, that's not that hard. I could do that. It's a bad habit. Don't do this, kids. So anyhow, that was probably one of the biggest things I did. What else have I been up to that hasn't been geek this week? That was probably my biggest thing, which was a lot of fun. Like I said, everything's working here. I figured out a challenge on my computer, not figured out, but at least mitigated, where my computer kept locking up whenever it would come out of sleep, or not sleep, but turn the screens back on. So I've disabled all of my screensavers and stuff like that. Instead, I'm just manually powering off my monitors. So now it comes up and hasn't locked. That's been good. Other things. That's a big part of it. I've got a Friendsgiving holiday celebration going on after the show that I'll be running to, so heads up, I won't be playing games right after the show. A mutual friends kind of thing. Who's hosting this one? V, I think, is hosting this one. But it's just some local friends are having a little pre-Thanksgiving celebration. That should be a lot of fun just to show up. It's like, here, let's go gorge on food. Everybody bring containers because there's going to be leftovers. And so awesome. Do that. So I'm going to do that after my contribution, because I told them, I was like, I'm doing my show, so I'll be late anyways. They're like, that's fine, bring whatever. So I was like, alcohol? It's like, yes, we like alcohol. So I took that a step different because I'm like this. I had made a jack-o'-lantern for Halloween that I had carved out, my little Cheshire cat face one. And I took the innards of it and I tried to do something, because I remember way back in the day I've had, my ex had made one time a natural pumpkin pie herself, using the innards from it, and I was like, I have never done this and I want to. So I saved and blended and made the stuff. And so I made a concoction with that of pumpkin filling, took some recipes, added some kind of canned pumpkin as well just to make it a little more consistent. And then I decided, oh look, I've got this cool bottle of pumpkin spice Baileys that I had picked up the other day when I was trying to do celebration type drinks and such for my Halloween party. So I took this pumpkin spice Baileys and added that to the pumpkin pie filling, as well as took some heavy cream and decided I would whip my own whipped cream and added some of the pumpkin spice Baileys to that, blended it up. And so I decided my alcohol contribution would also contain or be contained in a pumpkin pie that I made. So we'll see. Hopefully the pumpkin pie itself comes out well. I'm a little concerned because I had the mix in there for a little while, but I drained it out, smelled it. It seemed like it's fine. And like I said, I cut it with the canned one as well, so I think it'll be fine. I just don't know if I have too much cinnamon in it or other stuff, so we'll see. And then I did taste, though, the whipped cream, and it came out marvelous. So I have the whipped cream by itself is something I would just put in a hot chocolate and done. So good. So that was my other thing I've been creating today. What other things? I got to go. I hung out actually recently a few times with my buddy Shady and his wife. Had to help them move some things around their house since she's very pregnant and not able to help carry items.
I always love that. Very pregnant.
Well, you can be pregnant. It's
kind of a Boolean thing, right? You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant.
Well, you're pregnant.
You can also be very pregnant.
You can be very pregnant. It's how far in the stage of pregnancy you are to how much is it affecting what else you do in life day to day.
Sure.
And she is at a point where she still has, I forget how many weeks to go, but It's actually no, she's got a few months still, but it's long. It is shown enough that she is doing the lean back, walking, waddling kind of thing a bit.
Okay.
And so not advisable to carry heavy objects up and down stairs. And so I went and helped them with that. But then we went out and grabbed food at this restaurant, and I don't normally talk about like restaurant experience and stuff on the show, but this place, it's a chain called Lucky Dog. If you get a chance, I would recommend checking it out. But everything they make in the restaurant is basically made in-house. Almost everything's from scratch. And went there for their brunch, and they had magnificent stuff. Like everything on the menu was like, yes. But we stayed away from the s'mores pancakes. That sounded amazing. But chocolate pancakes with Nutella sauce that had homemade marshmallow bricks on top of it, along with peanut clusters. And just looked phenomenal. Stayed away from that. Instead got like regular food stuffs. But for appetizers with it, they had these amazing little warm, fresh donut holes. And the one that really caught me off guard was they had candied bacon. That was like the most amazing texture, where it was just crispy but thick enough that it wasn't like brittle, and it had the
that sounds deliciously terrible.
Caramelized, like just caramelized sugar on it to the point where you could taste it slightly separate of the bacon on the side, and they put a little bit of red pepper flake in it as well, so it had just a tiny bit of a bite. And holy cannoli, this stuff was decadent, so good. As well as they had a brownie there that was the flakiest, lightest brownie I've ever had in my life. It was a graham cracker crust double chocolate brownie with ice cream that every bite felt like it was melting in your mouth good, in the sense that this should be too good, too sweet, but it kind of melted in your mouth in a way that it went away flaky and light. And so you could just keep crushing this. Oh, it was the best brownie I've ever had. So that was a thing. It was Pokemon Day yesterday. I guess that's a little geeky, although I just kind of ran around real quick and caught a bunch of Pokemon. That was a thing. Trying to think of other stuff I've been up to running around, because it's been busy. I did this very childish thing this week where when I got home from work on Thursday, I did I'm going to stay up and watch anime and other things and stuff and not just go to bed like an adult. And because my upstairs was...
with us sometimes.
No, and I do it. Usually Thursday nights would be my night where it's like I don't have to get up tomorrow. I can do this. But at the same time, what was it? I did a thing where normally I'll watch a couple anime and either pass out on the couch, because I can sleep on my couch. Plus my room was freezing, so I was like, yeah, I'll stay downstairs. But then I ended up not sleeping and staying up all night. And by the time I was like, I went back to my computer and I'll go to bed after I like edit some stuff or do something real quick. And I noticed the sun was up and my cousin was leaving for work. I was like, And then I kept trying to go back to sleep, but just I couldn't. And it sucked because I knew I was going to try to weld. That was when I was going to practice welding. I was like, I really shouldn't do this tired, should I? I should get some sleep. That didn't happen. But due to a lack of sleep throughout most of the weekend, like other than that, trying to keep everything in order of what I did is like not there. I know that I skipped out completely on 2 conventions this weekend. Both DakuCon and Rocky Mountain Con were happening locally, and I was like, nope, not doing either. I
think you've done enough cons in your life to merit occasionally skipping one.
and admittedly, I just was not feeling it for whatever reason. Like no costume I was really trying to throw out, and just all these things in my mind where I was like, these are not the cons for me this weekend. And I saw the posts from people having a lot of fun, so that's great. I'm glad they did. And I thankfully do not feel bad for not going. I had that moment of like, no, I'm good. I have a lot of things I need to do at the house. I'm okay. I still haven't, I took down most of my decorations from Halloween, but they're not put away. And I still have things to do. I had to do laundry, all this other stuff. So just domestic life, right? Yeah. And so taking care of all those things. Anyhow, I am boring you all with all this now. And I think
it's quite interesting. It's good. It's day-to-day stuff, but it's interesting to hear the insights of somebody else's life on quite a personal level that you don't normally hear unless you live with them. So it's quite interesting.
My life's boring in every possible way. I'm always busy, and yet at the same time, I'm like, nobody wants to know about my life. Yet you guys tune in every week and listen. I'm confused.
Exactly. I was like, there's the evidence to the contrary there, Wade.
I'm confused. I don't know. Well, I think with this, though, we should instead get over and maybe talk about a little bit of...
I'm a geek. Are you a geek? Geek cred, level up!
with some geek cred. Ken, what have you been doing that's been a little more geek this week? And I do actually need to send a shout out to your sister-in-law because I saw the post and she and Kitten Fidgets looked gorgeous and dressed up and like they were going out to have all the funds. And so I hadn't said the actual official happy birthday when I had opportunity, so I need to send her a message. So that looked like it was a good time. Anyhow, on to you. What's been geek?
What has been geek? So mainly whenever I've had free time this week, and I probably spent too much time doing this to be honest, but I've been playing Factorio with Hando, and I'm actually in it right now. We've been having a hell of a good time playing Factorio. So we started playing this base that we called VT Dubs about a week ago, maybe a bit more than that, and the idea was that it's on death world mode. And what this means is that basically you have like incredibly high number of aliens spawning. So for those who don't know, Factorio is basically this really unique game that Hando Hando told me a really good way to describe this game that he heard from somebody else, from a streamer on Twitch, is that Factorio is incredibly satisfying but not exciting. It is not an exciting game.
No, I mean, once you get past the initial waves of things and kind of get your pacing down, Factorio is kind of rinse and repeat as you level up.
It's rinse and repeat, but it's very much logical, somewhat problem-solving, optimization mainly. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. It really is. It's absolutely gorgeous. Not in visuals, but in terms of logistical background, how it was made, etc. So you basically land on this planet, and you're just this dude with some technical skills. And you're trying to launch a rocket to get off the planet. That'll take probably several hundred hours of gameplay to manage that for your first time, and then get quicker each time successfully. But basically, there's these aliens that are on the world. They look like kind of like cockroaches that run around. These giant things that are like 10 times the size of a man, and they will destroy everything that's near you, that is you, whatever. Preferably destroying military stuff first. And they're generally quite peaceful and timid at the very start of the game because you haven't angered them yet. In this game, you're the villain, right? You go in, you land on this planet, and you pollute the crap out of it to try and
they react
to build the rocket, right?
They react to the pollution. The more pollution that happens, the more angered they get as it's affecting their world.
Absolutely. So you're destroying their planet, and they don't like it, and they get angrier and angrier, and they change color and they change size, and they get more aggressive and they become more powerful, and they start becoming dangerous. At the start, they're just like these little cockroach things that kind of try to bite you. Eventually, they start spawning these worms that are like spitting at you and stuff, and they start like having arranged like raids on your base. So at the start, when you're making first of all, you're just making some stuff to automate, I don't know, mining of iron, for example, or whatever. It ends up being that you're trying to automate defense as well. So you've got like a bunch of turrets that are being auto-filled with ammo, and you're trying to make robots that'll replace the turrets that are destroyed. So you're not only automating your own stuff, you're automating your defense as well. Now, it goes further than that. The way that we've been playing is on death mode, death world. And basically that means is that instead of this slow progression towards the advanced aliens, they pretty much start straight away and start raiding you straight away. They're way more aggressive. They do more damage. They have more HP. They're more terrifying, and they're everywhere. So since me and Hando are like, Hando's completed the game once, I haven't yet. So like together we're not exactly pros, right? So we made it so that we'll have this difficulty, but we have this huge advantage of we start on this starting island. So we edited a map, and we put water around it, so the bad guys can't cross the water. It has a single path out to the world, and it has a bunch of minerals to start off with on the island, but not enough to last forever. So we have to branch out eventually. But it means that at the start of the game, it's a bit easier, and then we can tackle the higher difficulty of the death world later on. And so it was a fun idea. I think we ran out of minerals way faster than we thought we would, but we tackled it quite well. We never once were at a loss for minerals entirely. We just sort of saw a slow decline and then managed to deal with it at the time as that happened. So now we've got one extension of our base, I suppose. We built another land bridge, so we've got another way out to go into the mainland. We built a mini base there to cover some iron deposits, and then we've now got another base that's actually miles and miles away from our main base to get oil, and that was pretty scary because well, for whatever reason, this map it was randomly generated except for the part that we edited. But there's no oil near the base at all. Normally, like your resources are spread quite nicely, and you can usually get fairly good access to them. But in this case, they were really, really far away. So to get to them, like it took like half an hour of trying to just fight through bad guys, holding them back, and building some like railway tracks and stuff to get all that going. And the game is really complex. It's got some Minecraft influence in it as well. It's got a lot of base building involved, but it's way more concentrating on the automation side of things. Way more on automation than anything else. It is, but it is at its core an automation game and a simulation game that has some fast-paced elements in terms of attacks and stuff. But the vast majority of this is this satisfying like realization when you look around your base and you're like, it's secure. I don't need to worry anymore. My defenses heal themselves. They refill themselves. We destroy the enemies by default when they come near us. I've got, or something you've been doing manually for the past half hour, you finally managed to get to automated, and you just watch it do itself, and you're like, I don't need to do that anymore. And it's really, really satisfying. So unless I'm going to check the chat to see if Hando said anything. No, I know he's here, but he's not been saying anything. But it's honestly just a fantastic, fantastic game. Factorio. If anybody hasn't checked it out, you may enjoy it if you are of the type of mind to enjoy that. I know that Copy, when she tried to play it with us, she said it was well, she didn't actually complain. She just very kindly said, "I'm going to go play something else," and we're like, okay, which is fine. We each have our own games that we enjoy playing for different reasons, and Factorio is it's like barely a game in some manners, right? Like it's so separate from the traditional game types out there. It really is. So I've been playing the crap out of Factorio. It's been really good. The other thing I want to mention is that I've been continuing my Audible book series. I'm now on the final book of Codex Alera by Jim Butcher, which is
nice.
First Lord's Fury. It's as I remembered, the series is fantastic. I'm glad to have been reading it again. And as I remember from the first and second time that I read it, I'm going to be very, very sad. Because I remember how sad it was last time saying goodbye to all the characters again, knowing that
when you've seen it all and you got through and you're like, that was such a good series, and you're like, but now I'm done.
Yeah, and there's a surprising lack of community on Reddit. I subscribe there and I see the occasional post, but I was hoping there'd be a lot more stuff there. But I guess because Jim Butcher hasn't said he's going to be doing any more Codex Alera, sadly. So we don't know. I guess it's just not thriving because there's no life going into the community. I'm sure.
When I haven't read them yet, but when it does, when the books finish up, is it at like a solid this is the end story, or is it a place where the world could expand and go further and the characters have a lot more they could do?
I think the characters should be done at the end because some of them, it's the end of the series, right? Some die, some continue on, some are uncovered, some achieve their goals.
Do you feel like he could write just another book on this, or would he have to go some new direction, new thing?
I think there's a lot of lore that's not touched. Like they mention a lot of like species that are on the planet that they are now extinct due to the actions of the main race.
Okay.
So it'd be really interesting to maybe go back in time or forward in time and maybe find out that they've been hiding out or something. Like they mentioned at one point, there's this group of sort of tribal rainforest type people who they have somehow managed to banish them from entering the forests. And it's like, that's really interesting. Can we please expand upon that? There's these ice men in the north who are basically, they always think that they're really tribal and dumb, but it turns out they're basically telepathic. So they're actually incredibly intelligent and really empathetic. And whenever they have peace gatherings, etc., they don't actually say anything. They just sort of stand in a circle and communicate continually through their brains. It's amazing, and that's only like touched on lightly, and it's mentioned that at the time they were an enemy and they're no longer an enemy because this was worked out. and that's that. That's that. I think it's something else that could really be touched on. I think the cards themselves are pretty much done. As much as I enjoy them all, and they're all really interesting stories. I think if we continue on down the bloodline of the main, so there's the House of Gaius, which is the main bloodline of the book. Basically, they're the kings, the emperors, the first lord, and their sons and daughters. I'd love to see a continuation, maybe in a few hundred years, of the House of Gaius, and maybe they could make cool references back to the current books occasionally and how it affected things later on. But yeah, it's honestly such an interesting world. I think it's quite unique. It has some it almost reminds me of Avatar in some ways, because it's very much elemental magic type of thing. However, unlike Avatar, where it kind of one it gets terrible over time if you go to Legend of Korra, but also like it's a lot less serious, and the world's so much bigger in Codex Alera. I mean, like the different races, etc., are only a part of it. The way that it's hinted at throughout the series is that basically these this main race of Kanem, which is the area. The main race that we focus on are actually Romans, who were somehow lost from another world and appeared in this land thousands of years ago. And they actually use like the writings of Julius Caesar, like a Bible.
Oh no!
It's such a strange concept of a basis for their whole society with this magic wielding. It's really interesting. Really is a fantastic series. I recommend to anybody who's interested. It's worth reading the whole thing, and it's got that sort of traditional fantasy. Just a farm boy, just a shepherd who slowly advances and improves himself and proves himself, right? And the first book is really kind of what's the word? What's the word I always use for anime when what's the term?
I'm not sure which one to use. Usually it's not positive.
No. When there's tropes. The first book is a little bit tropey in the sense that there are times when you think like, okay, there's a shepherd who's going to prove himself and get better, and you see like that is pretty much like the premise of the whole series. But it's so well done. It's just so enjoyable, even though it's very tropey. So it's well worth listening to, and I actually well prefer this over the Dresden Files series. Way more.
See, that'll be curious because I love Dresden, so that's curious.
No,
and
this is a completely different feel to it, but it's probably one of my favorite series of all time.
No, that's and like I said, that's great to hear. That is something I'm like super curious to check out next, because I've finished. I need to pick up these 2 side books from Dresden that aren't the main storyline ones, because I've heard they're quite good. My friends who've fanboy the heck out of the Dresden Files stuff have tended to be, dude, have you not read those yet? I was like, no, I didn't realize that was part of the series, that I was missing books, so I need to go back. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to finishing those up, because right now I've been reading back into the World of Warcraft lore books that I have, and I started a series. I was telling Copy about this the other day, that is talking about when is it Deathwing, I think, is trying to trick all the lords to put him in charge of Alterac Valley.
Oh, okay.
And the orcs is right after the Horde got destroyed initially, and the orcs are still like surviving out at Cosmodon, and have the Queen of the Dragons. Her name starts with an A. I forget it.
Alexstrasza.
Alexstrasza is locked up in their care, and therefore they have dragon riders because they have control of her. And it's a story about a mage, Rogdir or something like that, who's trying to go and actually
Rondir?
Something, and his goal is to go free her initially and such. And so I've been enjoying that, because now as I play WoW, going back and kind of comparing notes from locations in the book to where it's in the game world, and how that it's neat to see them, right? It gives me some of those initial feels I had when I first started playing WoW, coming from Warcraft 3 and Frozen Throne, and walking around and seeing areas that I remember from the previous games, but now in 3D and above you, these walls and towns and things like that. So that's been kind of cool. But I want to get through that, but I need to get into Jim's books. And it's funny, because as you're talking about what you're saying about whether he could make more Codex Alera books, and the storyline just there, I was like, I'll just have to, next time I talk to him, be like, so Jim, are you planning? No. As I keep...
that's something I'm sorely tempted to if I ever meet him, talk to him about. And also why I would also probably be best not to talk to him, because he is more than just an author who like, I don't want to I don't want to be a pest to him.
Well, that's that thing, right? Nobody ever wants to be that fanboy who's like annoying because you think you know better or something, or yeah, you just want to be like.
Well, it's just making personal requests of his career, right?
Hey, I know you might be busy on something else, but hey, could you? Yeah, could you please? I understand. That's why I equally do not take advantage of the fact that So yeah. Oh, it is.
Oh, sure.
All right. So with that on note, we're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna play a song. I heard it during the pre-show, and I was like, "Darn, I love Leo."
Oh, I forgot to mention to you, by the way. I'm going to go see Leo in concert later this month.
What?
Yeah, he's coming to Glasgow.
So you need to mention something on, like, send him. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth contacting again because he gave us the whole blanket email. Use my stuff. It's cool. Because we love it. But I'm jealous. Actually,
I sent a tweet to him. I put a tweet out, tagged his account saying I can't wait to see him in Glasgow, and I mentioned because he's so kind and let us play his music on our podcast. And I didn't get a response or anything.
Yeah,
but,
that's fine. But it's still, every time I hear his music, it just makes me smile. Love his stuff. Yeah, so.
It's really fun.
That's super cool. So yeah,
it's me and Graham are going. I had to show Graham who Leo was, and he was like, "Yep, I'm up for that."
Okay, good, because I think everybody I have shown or had listened to Leo has had a smile on their face, because especially depending on who they are, I'll play certain music. Some of his girl band type music or things like that he's done, where they start hearing the thing, it's like, wait, is this ABBA? It's like, yes, it is.
That's exactly what I did in the car. 2 days ago with my sister-in-law.
Nice.
I put on what was it again? Something ridiculous that I knew that they would know and like, but it's heavy metal now.
Yeah, exactly right. Where they know the words, but they're like, I've never rocked to this like this, huh?
Yeah.
Huh? How do I feel about that? Exactly. No, totally, definitely. All right, so we're going to take a break. I'm going to play a song from Leo. We'll be back, and we'll continue on with our Geek Cred and a little bit of news, talk about things like that. Feel free to email us into the show at showx@vtwproductions.com so we can hear anything you've been up to with your Geek Cred or anything in the news you'd like us to mention before the end of the show today, as we are happy to play what you want us to talk about. All right, so with that, we'll be back right after this in about 4.5 minutes.
Send in your emails to showx@vtwproductions.com.
I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings in the movies, and I'm not proud of my affairs. In a torn up town, no postcodes envy. But every song's like gold feet, Playco's dripping in the bathroom, bloodstained barcode, trash in the hotel room. We don't care. We're driving Cadillacs in our dreams, but everybody's like Bristol, Maybach, diamonds on the timepiece, jet plane islands, cycles on the gold leaf. We don't care. We are developing a love affair, and we'll never be royal. To take for us, we crave a different kind of love. Let me be your blue love. You can call me Queen Bee, baby, I'm rude. Let me live that fantasy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My friends and now we've cracked the code. We count our dollars on the train to the party, and everyone who knows us knows that we're fine with this. We don't come for money. But every song's like gold feet, Playco's dripping in the bathroom, bloodstained barcode, trash in the hotel room. We don't care. We're driving Cadillacs in our dreams, but everybody's like Bristol, Maybach, diamonds on the timepiece, jet plane islands, cycles on the gold leaf. We don't care. We are developing a love affair, and we'll never be royal. You know what in our blood, the kind of love you take for us. We crave a different kind of love. Let me be your blue love. You can call me live that fantasy.
You're listening to Show X on btwproductions.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back. All right, so as I was cutting Ken off talking about Geek Cred and such, so that we could take a break, so I could refill my drink and rock out to some Leo. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed that, because I know I do. Fortunately, because I don't have the video, I don't know if you're back.
Oh, apologies. Yes, I am. I also have an alcoholic beverage, which makes me happy.
Yeah, I'm having some. I want to say I'm having some lactose and liquor 43. The liquor 43 with milk, which is so lovely. Puts me in that.
I like to
festive
know
mood.
Bailey's as well. Yeah, it's nice.
So I actually made a second pie that I just pulled out of the oven right now and breaking. It's looking very good. So I have 2 pumpkin pies. We'll see how they go.
You ever heard that song by Lemon Demon?
I don't believe I have.
It's called Pumpkin Pie. Just
I'm assuming that would be the case, but no, I don't believe I've ever seen that one.
Lemon Demon, they're the guy. Well, it's the guy. It's Neil Cicerega, I think is how you pronounce his name. He did a TEDx talk actually. But do you remember Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny?
No.
This is the ultimate showdown of Ultimate Destiny. Good guys, bad guys, and explosions. As far as the eye can see.
I don't
you
think
remember that?
I recognize that one. It sounds to me like a Tenacious D song.
Oh, it's kind of. Well, no.
Well, just like the lyrics type thing of it, because it reminds me of like the greatest song ever. Yeah.
Well, this is sort of how's it best described? Lemon Demon are quite unique because everything they do is it's just this one guy who does everything, and it started off with just him like messing around, bored at home, I guess, more than anything. And he just ended up making some of the first, I wouldn't call them memes, but viral videos. The first one was the Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny. Was anyone in chat mentioning it? There we go. No, nobody is. That's strange. Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny. It currently has. It came out in 2006. It currently has 21 million hits on YouTube. It's basically this flash video where like all these different people who were famous and popular at the time from different fictions and non-fictions would come together and have a big battle and who would win. And there's like a joke that Chuck Norris might win because that was in that era of internet memes where Chuck Norris was
wins everything.
In the end, Mr. Rogers wins, defeating everybody. And it's just an amusing video. but he did a bunch of other really, really either funny or well done or interesting songs and music videos. He also did the Harry Potter Puppet Pals, which is another super, super famous YouTube series, which got famous separately from Ultimate Showdown. It was quite impressive that he became like viral twice. Harry Potter Puppet Pals. Let me look it up. Yeah, the top one has 182 million views. The mysterious ticking noise. So he did all that as well. He's really famous. He basically his entire career is based on just going online and making interesting stuff, videos and songs and stuff. He just released a new album on Spotify. His music's really weird and eclectic. It really, really is odd. But some of it, I listened to a couple of albums, like Damn Skippy, repeatedly when I was in high school. And one of the songs on one of those albums is Pumpkin Pie. And it's just a song about this guy who would rather die than give away the recipe to his pumpkin pie. And like kings try to torture him and stuff to try and get his recipe, but he just chooses to rather die than give away his recipe for his pumpkin pie. Sorry, all that was just because you reminded me of that song.
Yeah, just because I mentioned pumpkin pie. No, that makes okay.
Sorry. I was more curious if anybody had heard of him before, or I knew of him, because I really do love Neil Cicerego's stuff.
Yeah, like I said, it's not one that I'm aware of. So if anyone else has, by all means, I'm not familiar. But so I had cut you off for the break, Ken, to take it. But as we were talking about your geek cred and such, was there anything else you needed to get off before we continue on with it?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty much everything. I'm just trying to think. No, I think that was absolutely everything.
Okay.
Actually, I can mention this. Me and Kitten have been watching a new TV series. I say new. It's actually not old, but it's not new.
Fair. New to you.
Yeah, new to us. It's Ozark on Netflix.
Not sure if I know that one.
It's got almost a Breaking Bad feel to it. It's basically this guy who's the sort of, I guess, the working man of this family, and he works in finance, is all you kind of know. But there's this weird dark tone to everything that's going on in the first episode, and eventually you find out that he actually launders money for the cartel.
Okay.
And in the very first episode, the whole this is not really like telling you the plot because this is the first episode, right? It's kind of setting things up. In the first episode, it turns out that one of his partners has been stealing money from the mob, from the money they're laundering, and the mobster comes in and shoots the guy and threatens to kill him as well, the main character, or the not the main character, I suppose, the father. He promises that there's this like location that he can move to where he can launder way more money in a way faster time. Just give him one chance, sort of thing. And it's called the Ozarks. It's this area called the Ozarks.
Okay, yeah, the Ozarks are a place, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know of it, to be honest. And so he moves his family abruptly to this place, and it's the sort of trials and tribulations of him trying to get this money together and laundered quickly for the cartel, while the FBI's on his back, the death of his partners on his mind, his marital troubles, his children are like up to stuff and being either useful or annoying. And I think what's really, I'm only like 2 episodes in so far. We're only 2 episodes in, but I think what's going to happen is it's going to be kind of similar to Breaking Bad in the sense that he starts off being a very nice character who, you know, does some questionable stuff, but due to circumstance has to sort of not necessarily man up, but become the villain. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Is this guy's going to become like a really badass villain, and I'm looking forward to that happening. So if anybody else is watching Ozark, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well, but just don't spoil it any further for me.
Nice. I say, I'd mentioned that I'd been watching like West Coast Customs and just random other things. I am in the middle of actually, I guess I'm getting close to no, did I finish? I think I might have finished the current series of Sword Art Online, what's going on with it, because that I've enjoyed, and it's interesting where it's going. It's not quite like the original, but it's a good twist on what the Sword Art series has been doing, as I've been watching the anime there. I think I had mentioned before that I watched Daredevil Season 3 and really enjoyed that. I'm trying to think the other things I've watched. a lot of little side things, a lot of YouTube to kind of keep things, and I'll get to this at the end there. But from my end, then the other things I've been doing, let's see, basically gaming where I could between everything else I've been doing. A lot of Black Ops 4, since that's the newer game on the block for my group here. I am terrible at the game compared to everyone else I play with. As a whole, VTW gets all the love we usually get of people calling hackers and stuff like that, but it's not as universal. There are enough modes in there that there are things that we just do not excel at, and we have run against so many other teams that are really good that it's a good challenge. But we've been playing and enjoying Black Ops 4, mostly traditional multiplayer versions of it. I still need to sit down with some people and let's play zombies, so I can actually enjoy the zombies mode for a change, get some of the achievements there, as well as a couple more games of Blackout, since that's the, the Battle Royale mode that they have in there that I actually quite like, but I just am terrible at. So
Battle Royales are really hard, man.
They are. And I mean, if I'm truly taking my time, I'm trying to adjust how I play Battle Royales, because I have been the one who goes and hides in a bathtub the whole game, waiting for the circle to close in on me, and then try to take out the last 2 or 3 people, right? And so that I only have maybe one to fight.
When I first started doing Fortnite,
and so I'm trying to be a little more active, where it's okay for people to know where I am and for you to try to kill people and do stuff. And I did. Like the other day, I was playing with the Rampart as I got it, and I took a shot at a guy from distance, like, he's shooting someone else. He doesn't see me. Lined him up, missed once, let him up again, and killed him. I was like, I got it. I'm not going to go loot his body. He's way the heck over there, but I had so many, because I was also trying to get some of the achievements you can get in the Blackout mode, where you can unlock banners and such. I got one, which is the easiest when you land on, not the construction site. I forget which one it is. It's got the 2 domes or whatever, and it's got a thing. You just push a button that opens a silo and jump in there, and as soon as you open it, you get the achievement. Another one I got kind of randomly because of my drop was somewhat bad. I dropped in an area that was way close to people and got into one shack, nothing. I found body armor, which is the only reason I got this. Then in the next shack, another guy jumped in there. We both showed up, and it was like, and so we just duked it out, started punching each other. And I think the only reason I survived it was because I had armor and he didn't. And so I killed him because there was an achievement for getting someone with just your bare hands.
Nice.
And so got those. I was trying to get some of the others and just have failed. And I've just had a rough time with it. I was having fun playing, but a rough time with probably almost all the games I've been playing lately. At least Black Ops 4, I have not done well. I've somewhat held my own every once in a while. I'll have a moment where I'd go through and kill streak people and stuff, do all right. But in comparison to El Campo, Paz, Jace, and all these other people who are just solidly good, I'm like, gosh darn it. Play some League of Legends, more ARAMs here and there. I got the video. I didn't know how to highlight it at the time, so I lost it, but I got a match. I was having ups and downs with matches there too. I played one as, what's his name? One of the AD characters I just had never used really and was doing terrible. The guy.
Israel.
No, he's one of the ones that. Anyhow, like I said, his ult is is it Lucian? He's the ult where he runs with the guns going to.
That's Lucian.
So Lucian, and I don't know how to play Lucian really. I've learned it in the past, but I wasn't working for me this time. And my team was just yelling at me kind of to the point where they said, Riot's going to be watching Lucian's build for how they build out their thing. And I was laughing in a way because I was like, I don't build tunes unique. I build them straight off of Riot's suggestion. So, oops.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I wasn't playing him well. I don't know. That sucked. But then I ended up with a match where I got Varus. And we were in a match the other day where it ended up we had a full teams against each other. And all people that was a pretty solid makeup back and forth. Like the other team had they had some really good tunes too, because I know they had at least crud. The guy with the big beam and that can stun people. Names are
big what?
The horror ult's the big laser beam.
Lux.
Yeah, thank you, Lux. I am really not remembering names right now.
And we had I've played League in forever.
I'm just like, I know these names. These are all characters I play and like. Anyhow, they had a full team of solid teams in composition where ours was decent as well, but we had a lever. So I checked out in the replay. 26 seconds into the game, Urgot left and never came back.
That's double troll. First going Urgot, second.
I mean, as an ARAM, and the new Urgot can do a lot of damage if you know how to play him. But anyhow, I was Varus going through, and I was enjoying playing through. And I think we had a Morgana as well and such. But And we had a Teemo, and I don't know, it was a really pitched battle back and forth. In fact, both teams back and forth multiple times. But it was one of those, I kept forgetting that we were missing a person because we were doing so well. And
that's like doubly painful if you lose then.
Oh, man. Because at the very end, as it went through, not only did they lose, but the last action into the game was me getting a pentakill at their base and taking out both their towers and their nexus all in the last, like, minute and a half of the game. And boy, did it feel good. Like, boy, did that feel good. Not only were we won 4v5, but yeah, just
I don't need no illusion.
Oh man, it was good. It was a good game. So that was nice. Also been playing World of Warcraft. I'm up to level 48 now, mostly questing on my own, although I do want a big shout out to Copy. She had taken me around at one point to do during the Halloween event, took me around to do trick-or-treating, essentially, to hit all the pumpkins. I think I got 2 levels doing that for the 2 zones we had done. Nice. That she showed me around, and plus it got me a ton of flight paths, which is really cool. So I'll be able to travel around much more in the future. And then I've just finished questing out I've just finished Desolace, so I'm done with Desolace, and I'm moving over to Feralis, I think, as the natural progression or such. And so I got all the achievements there. And it was nice.
You're questing in a weird way, dude. I would not want to go to... I don't really like Kalimdor, to be honest. It's probably my lesser of the 2 cons.
Well, for me, it's partially a difference, because my first time I ever leveled up was as an undead rogue, and so I stayed all the side on the Eastern Continent.
Yeah, but you did it as Horde, though. Now you could do it as Alliance, which is...
Well, that's the thing.
Like
this is
Elven Forest and stuff, man.
Totally different for me, and so I just kind of following the path as it's taken me. Plus, the nice thing is going through Desolace when it's not Desolace. You're like, after Kata, Desolace, so different. To a point where I didn't just hate it, because I think everyone admits the pre-Kata Desolace was a grind that was just terrible.
Yep.
Plus, it's nice because you level up fast enough, go through the quest fast enough that you don't ever feel like you're really in the zone too long. I think Desolace has been the longest for me so far. But out of there, and I'm just kind of only playing it randomly on occasion, and it's been fun. So I've still been doing that a little bit. I do look forward to whenever we do get to do our dungeon raids and such like that, so I can get more of the lore, finding out where we're at places and why. So doing that. What else gaming wise? I think that's been the most of what I've been doing gaming. Other geek for me just in general. So a friend of mine, ones we've talked about before, Act Out Games, Presley, with her channel. Her father put out a thing recently, because they're out in California now, where it was kind of like, hey guys, we're looking to get Comic-Con tickets this weekend for San Diego Comic-Con. I was like, oh, that's cool. Good luck. And with that, I was kind of like, they said, like, does anybody else want to get tickets? And I was like, raise his hand from the background. And they said, well, just send us your registration stuff for it. And I was like, huh? So I jumped on San Diego Comic-Con's thing, and it's like, oh yeah, you need to register an account to get a code before you can actually go try to get tickets, because you have to use your codes and stuff and be a verified account. It's like, oh. So I went to do all that, and then it said, oh, yeah, you must have had your account registered by October 31st in order to be ready for San Diego Comic-Con 2019. I was like, looks at November. Darn it. So too late. I was about to message Brian saying, like, sorry, man, thanks for the offer, but I, was too late to register. But then I thought back, I feel like I've done this before.
I was going to say, I bet you've already registered you and your cons.
Well, and when I tried to register, I tried to use my default of Doc Dead, and it was like, this is taken. Like, oh, I'm going to beat up somebody. But then I went back and said, unless, and sent, to Doc Dead I forget how to log in. Sure enough, in my email, pops up, hey! So I went back in and fixed it up, logged in. I was like, I did make an account like a couple years ago. And so I had a code there, and I sent it to Brian. I was like, yeah, give it a shot. Well, he contacted me yesterday and said, guess what? We got ticks. And so apparently, I haven't seen the in my account thing saying it's official, but apparently I'm going to San Diego Comic-Con for the first time next year.
Well done. That's going to be awesome, dude.
That's going to be something. So I am going to be working on a list of epic cosplays to all do next year, because I have already one planned for DragonCon next year, as well as potentially one for Katsu and a couple others. And so I need something really special for San Diego Comic-Con, because, yeah. So, I mean, I know I'll take my Jefferson because they love that and everything, but, so I have an idea. and I'm really wasn't sure if I should share this at all, but
You're gonna.
have you seen also from Riot lately the media thing they put out that has been just eating up the airwaves?
The K-pop stuff, yeah.
Their band KDA, right?
Yeah.
That has just been stupid popular. So, and I am playing it, or will be here in a second, in the background for video so people can have, if you have not watched it, and I will include the link in the show notes as well. But they made basically where they took 4 of their champions, and I always forget one of them, but it's Evelyn, Akali, Ari, and who's the other gal? Someone help me.
I don't know.
But
I haven't paid attention to it.
Made a music video of them that's kind of a modern day music video of these characters in an animated form that are just gorgeous. And of course, like anybody does, the outfits are phenomenal. And the cosplay community is so fun in this way that new characters' designs come out and they're like, wants to jump on this one right away. Well, I am maybe fallen victim to it slightly as well, because Akali, which they have, she has the whole blacklight outfit that they do with the animated mask and such like that, is probably the most popular one in the group that people have been watching and saying, I want to do this. And I am, I guess, fanboying in the sense of the same level of, I want to do this. So I have a thought. And that thought...
Gender band.
Yes. But a whole
That'd be
group.
fun.
Like, I want to do a whole male version of these characters in these outfits, and I've already come up with designs, at least for Akali, that I could do. And oh, by the way, I am pretty sure I have figured out how to engineer the mask so that I can do the animated mouth and have it all glow and light up with it. Yeah, I think I know how to do all of it. And so I have thoughts.
That'd be a fun challenge as well.
Thoughts. So... I'm thinking one of my epic cosplays for next year might be male version of KDA Akali. Oh
nice,
boy,
dude.
do I have ideas. So that's a thing. And it's funny because Copy had mentioned in the chat earlier that she's been watching that video far too many times because I've shown that. And we were actually talking about potentially doing a thing for Anime North with it. Of doing that one, because we're trying to share ideas between Copy. And Copy has a spreadsheet, and we need to get it out to anyone who might be interested in going to Anime North next year, of like all the details on rooms and costumes and everything, because she wants to do with her, because her sister's coming out and hasn't for years, and so she wants to do a cosplay with her sister again. And I know that part of it is looking at Final Fantasy XIV, some of the characters from that, and they even threw a possible one at me. I've also been talking about wanting to do something from Kingdom Hearts 3 as one of my potential cosplays for next year. And I'd love to have something done for the release here. And I have ideas, but I need to look at the characters more. Now I'm looking at this KDA one. I'm turning into the classic cosplayer. And this came out when Overwatch just announced the new Gal character with that one. And I love the meme, the classic one of the guy walking down the street with his girlfriend and looking over his shoulder at this other girl. That meme that everyone sees. Yeah. That they've done that with like characters and costumes, right? That as soon as a new character comes out, everybody's like, oh, I want to costume that character. But I was just looking at the one everyone else was looking at. So that same thing of like, but next. So I have thoughts, ideas. And like I said, I've already engineered and almost designed the mask completely. And I may start ordering parts soon. Because I believe I can make the mask in such a way that I could actually sell it and make it animate. And I have an idea, although I'd have to check the code on it, to make it animate in such a way that no matter how like not just to music, but if you were actually talking, that it would animate with your voice.
That could be hella cool.
And I might talk to you, Ken. You might be able to help me on the programming side of this. It should be very straightforward, but I've got ideas on how to do the actual wiring for it all. Like, I already found all the parts.
Sure, if you can do the wiring, I can definitely help with the programming.
Yeah, I just need to design. And actually, as Hyde's sitting there saying, dude, I want to work with you on that, I have thoughts for you as well as to how you could help me with that, specifically with like a Cricut or such. Just, yeah. Anyhow, so I'm scheming, and I have ideas, and I want to do all this other geek stuff this week, so we'll see what I'll end up doing with all this. Right now, it's a whole lot to do about nothing, but it's thoughts. So many thoughts. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of what they did with the KDA video, as well as, and they did this for Worlds. There's a video out there. They did a live blending at Worlds with the, what was it? with the live band members that they actually have that sing the song and have learned all the moves and stuff like that, along with the kind of not, how do I say, it's not truly a hologram in the sense that some concerts have done. I think they just did this as a way that they added digital characters on top of the live performance, but they did it in such a way that they had from the video the digital characters for all the band out on stage with the people doing the actual singing, which was actually done in a real slick way, in such that they even went so far as they got like the reflections off the ground correct, so that yes, you knew they were digital and they weren't there, but man, they looked good. And they had choreographed the entire situation so that all the backup dancers and the main singers were singing around where the digital characters would be. And so it all blended really well. And I got to give credit to Riot for doing something that just seemed pretty amazing. And I wish I could have been at wherever Worlds was taking place, because the stage setup in the stadium they had looked phenomenal. Like, that would have been a heck of a ride. And plus, me doing a thing for Akali would be my first actual cosplay from anything League of Legends for as many years as that's been out. So yeah, so many thoughts. So yeah, that's been going on geek-wise around me lately. I've been kind of noting all those things. Okay. What else did I have? Did I have anything else? I mean, I think that's all of my real geek this week. Other than that, it was going to be talking a little more just some news and stuff like that. From things that have been coming out lately. I'm very curious to hear more thoughts of what people had out there about BlizzCon. We told you a little bit about what I saw in the videos and things like that, but I have heard since then a lot of negative feedbacks for some of the displays, especially for Diablo Immortal, or whatever the mobile version of Diablo is.
Immortal, yes.
I've been hearing a lot of noise about it, saying that people are pissed that they thought, you know, Blizzard was going to be working on this full-on next Diablo, but it sounds like it's not just that they're releasing a mobile version for another side project market. From what I've been hearing, Blizzard's been talking like this is their new direction, that mobile gaming is where Blizzard is going.
So you've actually missed out the worst part of this. Not only mobile gaming, which is bad in itself, right? Different market entirely to PC gamers. But the worst part of this entire dumb deal is that this is not actually being made by Blizzard. This is actually being made by, it's a Chinese company that makes games that's like a...
Okay, so I had heard some theory that this was actually just reskinning an already existing engine that was being made, and that what they're really trying to do is target the Chinese market, who doesn't traditionally console or PC game, that the majority of the billions of people in China play on mobile devices, and so that they're trying to break into the Chinese market. And with that, though, that they are actually moving a majority of their resources of developers and art and everyone into their mobile platform. And so there was a lot of concern from people talking about in similar ways that they weren't feeling like the newer release for Command and Conquer and stuff like that, like how that's going to this mobile little thing, that in a lot of ways people are feeling a little betrayed with Diablo, thinking, I want this to be this beautiful thing, right? This new experience on the computer. I'm looking for the next. We enjoyed Diablo 3. We want 4. And things like that. So, yeah. And so
I'm pretty pissed because I was pretty excited. Like, Diablo is something that I only got into in Diablo 3. Like, I'm sad that I missed out on Diablo 2. I heard so many good things about it.
I'm similar in that way.
It just looks like something that's that should be, I don't know. Well, they made something beautiful. Why don't they stick with it? You know, like, why don't they stick to their guns on this?
Well, my thing is, I think you could do both. And I don't know. I know these companies make a ton of money. I've always gone to Blizzard, and why I've complained about Blizzard so much is that they have WoW money. And WoW money is not insignificant. We've broken it down multiple times of how much money they bring in per month. That they make enough money in a month to fund a new game every month, a new AAA title.
Oh, easy, yeah.
And so that's partly where I'm like, you could hire more developers and do more with this and not have to just choose one path or another. I mean, cool if they have an honest vision. And actually, as Hyde in the chat is saying, that, that has a lot of discussion about Diablo Immortal, saying that she's broken down the entire argument, same game that's been reskinned like 5 times, to be honest, saying the same thing we are, but doesn't have negative feelings about it, but is also very curious and realizes that in a lot of ways she's the target audience for it. And also says one of her main points is that they called it Diablo Immortal, not Diablo 4. Had they tried to call it Diablo 4, I'd been more concerned. Absolutely agree. And that's why the Immortal announcement by itself doesn't bother me. It's like, all right, fine, going to mobile, no big deal. the challenge, and I think where a lot of the scuttle has come out about this, has been some of the voiceover that Blizzard's had along with it, that their developers have actually said. And essentially what I've been hearing, I need to find the articles myself, but is that Blizzard's developers have said, this is our new direction. We are no longer going to focus on traditional console or PC games. If that's true, then you have a lot of fans who are really concerned. As well as they were talking about, like one of the quotes that I kept hearing, that apparently there's memes about, is one of their top developers saying, why are you guys complaining so much? Don't you guys all have phones? And in a way, confirming or adding to that concern that all they're going to produce in the future is mobile. And that's where I can see a legitimate concern. Because I kind of play mobile games, but they're so fleeting, right? I will touch a mobile game for a couple weeks, a month maybe, and never go back to it. In fact, I need to clear out my phone from all these things I have in there that were like, oh, that was cool for a minute. Where PC games, I will put hours into and really dig into and play a lot of. So, I don't know, but that's something I've been seeing recently. I am curious to know more from all of you out there as fans of these games and everything, what your thoughts are on what Blizzard's been doing and whether you heard more of those same kind of rumors that I have. But what are your thoughts, Ken, if they are honestly going away from traditional platforms to focus on mobile only?
Well, like you said, they've got the money to do both. Why don't they do both? I'm hoping that is the case, and they actually are planning on just saying, well, you know, we've got the cash. Let's expand to other markets because PC may not last forever. It's good to be versatile as a company. Yada yada yada. I agree with all that, right? The problem is that they took something that is traditionally a very PC-based game. In Diablo 3, they branched out a little bit and put it onto consoles.
Successfully went to console, and it sounds like it's going to be, if people have already been playing and having an amazing time on Switch, so it sounds like they've done a really good job with both of those transitions.
Just fine. But that's the problem. That's the thing, though. There's both, right? This is now just saying just mobile. And from the looks of it, it is just going to be a game made by a Chinese company that's reskinned to be Diablo, but it's going to be the same as like 10 other games out there that are skinned differently as well. That doesn't sound like fun to me. I don't want to have clone games. I want a unique experience with a unique code base, with a unique style,
it's hard, right?
with
Because,
visuals, audio, and gameplay mechanics, not just the... I don't want to just play honestly, Warcraft 3 maps forever, you know?
I don't care if it's a reskin, because a lot of times those games they're using the engine of and basically the same gameplay of, you never played. They came out in a different market, and it was popular because of the characters they had there. And so they're just reusing that engine and gameplay mechanic and then putting the story IP that you're aware of and that you care about. So that doesn't bother me. It's just the same thing where Pokemon Go is really a skin of Ingress, and that you have the Harry Potter version of Pokemon Go, and that you've got, you know, all these other versions. I'm only playing Go because that's the one that speaks to me, even though apparently Ingress just got a whole remap that I should at least check out. And so
I saw that Ingress Prime or something it's called.
Yeah, and so with that, I mean, I don't care that they're reusing an engine. That means it's tried, true, and it should work. That's fine. But I hope they will do enough with it to make it feel distinctively Diablo versus just a cookie-cutter experience. So that's my thought on that piece. I don't care that they're reskinned, but I am concerned, now this is me, PCMR, PC Master Race, with any company that's saying they're going to spend less effort on the PC market. Every time they try to say the PC market's insignificant, I think the numbers come and prove them wrong. And it's the same thing I have a problem with everybody who's doing the memes about Red Dead Redemption 2, how great a game it is, and how PC gamers are sitting here like, I want to play. Because I'm one of them. But I also believe that once it does come out on PC, it'll be epic on our end.
Yep. Now, the challenge it's not been announced. I have checked. It's not been announced yet. But it is likely, though, right?
Very likely. I've heard a lot of rumors saying that it will. It just makes sense. And I've still tried to figure out the logic, and no one's convinced me of one, of why any manufacturer would avoid the PC market and go just to console, or why, in addition, they like take their time and wait to deliver it later. That bothers me a lot, because I think you're missing sales in that way, actually, because I am not going to go buy a PS4 or go buy another console for specific games unless it's the thing, right? I've yet to run into the game that requires it from me.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
I mean, like, even Witcher 3, etc., is PC, so, you know, there are lots of fantastic games out there that are fantastic, that work better on PC than elsewhere. Why would I do anything else?
Yeah, and I invest in my primary gaming experience, which is my PC, and I still have the consoles, but I barely use them. And I won't invest in a new one until they show me something that's worth it. So anyhow, that's just a thought in me. I'm going to be very supportive, personally, of any company that's going to show that they're trying to innovate on PC, because that's my world. So of course I'm going to support that. Another thing, though, from Blizz, and this on a different note, this is just a piece of news for everybody. This came out from Engadget, and I saw a few different notes about it, as I'm officially in the
Technology, news, and more today on the Geekoscope.
Geekoscope section, but it says, hey guys, Overwatch players out there, quick heads up if you haven't heard it yet. The next install or update that's coming is going to be big. So big, in fact, that you're going to have to reinstall the entire game.
Entire freaking game, yep.
So I think it's at the range of 80 gigs or so for the install.
Mad.
You're going to have to
Absolutely
install.
mad.
So here's the funny part. Does this affect me in a negative way? Not really, except that when it happens, there'll be a day that I probably don't get to play, or at least several hours as it's downloading. But their concern and why this got brought up for a lot of people is for anybody that's on a metered account, anyone that has a limit to how much bandwidth you can use each month, be aware. You're going to need to download another 80 gigs, essentially, or whatever the full game is, and install it to be able to play Overwatch after the next major update. Now, along with that, though, there's potentially a lot of good in the sense that they said it's a lot of back-end updates. Hopefully that means that, I don't know what they're going to improve because the engine runs gorgeous on mine. But hopefully it'll have some streamlined code, better net code, better engine, things like that. Who knows? But we'll see what happens with that. So that was just something I saw recently. I was like, whew, that's a good heads up. Anyhow, we still have a few minutes here. Ken, do you have any news articles you want to bring up for everyone since I've been talking far too much lately?
I do. I sent in an email. Let me actually find it myself.
I might have. It's probably marked on Reddit. The Reddit one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I had marked here as topic is what I called it, which is a nice name, nice obvious name for when I'm on air. So it was like, yeah, this is a subreddit on Ask Reddit subreddit. It's a question somebody said of gamers of Reddit. What video game mechanic are you personally tired of seeing? And I thought this was a really good discussion piece. So it had 28,000 upvotes and 18,000 comments, right? So there's lots of people here telling their points and what they thought was good or bad gameplay mechanics and what they're tired of seeing. So I'm going to try and right now it's sorted by best. I hate that. I'm going to sort it by top. So the top comment says, when you drive into a bush that's as hard as a rock, right? I think everybody's been there. That's always the worst thing when you're
driving that's not even
quickly
what I thought
in GTA,
about. Yeah.
trying to finish that mission, you crash into a bush.
Oh gosh, that fits into so many categories. It's like having imaginary walls. Any of those kind of barriers that it looks like you should be able to and doesn't. But yes, the tiny bush that looks like your vehicle should be able to run it right over, and yet it crushes your vehicle, causes you to fly through the window or die. Yeah. Oh gosh, yes.
That is such a pain. Higher difficulty levels that only increase enemy health and accuracy. It's a very lazy way of making the game harder, and all it does is make the battles longer. I agree completely.
Yes. Heaven forbid better mechanics of using more cover and doing things like that. Just having them being harder to kill, meh. Yeah,
actually give them more interesting, like make them actually change their tactics as the game moves on, you know? In fact, one of the comments that somebody replied to this, and I was just going to say it myself, Killing Floor did this right by making the enemies have more speed and animations depending on the difficulty. For example, even basic enemies on higher difficulties will roll to dodge your bullets and have more variation and speed in their attack animations and have some additional abilities, etc. Which is a much more than just having the bullet sponge idea, right? Like, oh, higher difficulty? Let's just bump up health by 25%.
Yeah,
that's not fun.
The answer, or that whole point that it's lazy in the way to do that, absolutely agree. Yes, it is. So, well, because one that always comes up for me, and I don't know what the list is showing, but is still QuickTime events.
Do you like them or dislike them?
I dislike them. Now, I will say that it all depends on how they're used in the game. I have seen, like in the last Tomb Raider that I played, not the most recent, but the first one of the new series that came out, they had a few QuickTime events, and when they were there, I actually was okay with it because it was fairly quick, and you die because the first time you missed it, but then when you came back, you could just do it right the next time, and you're past it pretty quick, and it allowed it to be a somewhat interactive cutscene. Cool. And it was only used a handful of times in the entire game. So that's where I didn't lose interest with, and I didn't think it was so bad. My challenge is I've seen games that it seemed to be used every other interaction you did, and that just became another like cheap way of doing things that didn't require much skill, and I questioned the developers what they were trying to accomplish with it. So all for me, it depends on the usage and how it's done.
So the only time I've seen it done right is in Telltale games, right? So for example, you're playing The Walking Dead and you're running around and basically the whole thing's just a running video. Effectively, you control some elements, but most of it's just a running video, and you need to react to what's happening in the video. Like suddenly a zombie appears. If you press triangle quickly enough, you stab it in the head or get away or whatever. If you press circle or whatever, you end up getting caught by it, and it has gameplay ramifications. But that's not just like lazy coding in between the game. That's actually the game, right? That is the whole game.
It was their core mechanic to how they're doing it, yeah.
And that's where I thought it was really done well, and that's when I do enjoy that. Somebody else said unskippable cutscenes right before a difficult part of a level that you're forced to watch ad nauseum.
Well, so my key with that is it's fine for me to be unskippable the first time.
Yeah.
After that, when you've died and I need to go again, it better be skippable because, yes, I've had those games where I've had to go back and say, I've died again. Let me start it and then go get a sandwich.
Yeah.
So that by the time I come back, I'm ready for the actual gameplay. So, yeah, I can agree with that completely.
Or worse, when there's saves that are like 2 minutes away from the battle scene, so you have to run there to get to the cutscene. You just feel like you're wasting your life. Every single time.
No, it should definitely. I mean, I am not against hard things that you will die and have to repeat multiple times, but making that repetition not just be arbitrarily like bad. Yes, that's.
Conversation prompts that lead to the same result. Yep.
Yeah, I've run into a few of those where I've said, I am going to play this way this time just to see if it's the case. And
well, sometimes it's awesome. Like the way Mass Effect does it, for example, like at least in the earlier two games, with the reporter, right? Like if you tell her off for when she's like bad mouthing you, if you continually do the evil options, you eventually just turn around and punch her right in the mouth. I think it's just awesome. It's fun. It's memorable, and you really feel like you've made an impact with your choices, right? You really do feel like you've done an evil thing, and that's enjoyable. But then there's other games where you say you can respond with, "Okay, let's do that," or "No, I don't think we should do that." And when you say no, the other character says, "No, we should do it anyway." And it's it's like that's just so frustrating. It's like I have zero impact. Why am I even here? Just pretending that this is a game. It's actually just a pre-prepared clip. Open world games that don't let you swim, or you die when you go to the water.
Oh gosh, I've had a couple of those where it made sense because of the kind of character you were. Be it like you're in a mechanical body and are not waterproof. Oh, right. I've had a couple like those, but. No, I hate when it's like I jump in the water, I fall in the water, and it's like it's water right there, and you're dead.
Well, I just don't know why they'd have it in the game if you can't go in it, right? And that's the problem with open world, because it implies that there will be some water in there. This next one's kind of similar to the bullet sponge idea of increasing HP for difficulty. Time limits. Now do the same thing in half the time. And they're like, no thanks, I liked the game before.
You mean as like a difficulty modifier or something where it's to do it again?
They didn't specify, but that's how I would see it. Yeah.
I was going to say, because basic time limits on some things are okay for me. They add that little bit of needed stress or emphasis to get done. Because there's a lot of games I play where I will take hours to play this mission and just destroy it when I do it. RTSs are notorious for that, where I can build a base, build all the items, and then just roll over people. But in the same games, like in an RTS where they add a time limit, where all of a sudden I have to like, I'm taking my time. Oh, wait, I only have 10 minutes to get this part done? Crud. I need to now actually focus on my build order and get the right units out right away and start fighting versus just turtling for a while. So just time limits don't bother me. It just depends how they're used. When it's arbitrary, or for me, one of the challenges is anything that is a repeat and rinse and repeat. Do the same thing that you just did, but for a time limit now to give you a star.
Yeah, that's just weak gameplay and boring. Yeah, well, screw that noise.
A lot of those bug me, although there's some I've done. I've had a couple instances where it didn't bother me because they either did such a specific route. Like Assassin's Creed had some of that where you'd have to go chase pages in one of them or other things. And
that's the thing. If it's like a bonus or a collectible or that kind of thing, then it's like, yeah, whatever, right? Like that's what that's for. That's extra content. But when it's a main gameplay element, that's not fun. I'm not into that. Except for maybe race games, that's literally the point. Right?
Well, yeah, literally, yeah. Well, okay, that was something, earning licenses in the Gran Turismo games and things like that, where get through these couple corners this fast at least these scores to get ahead, were always ones that for the beginning challenged the crap out of me. But then once I started getting good at it, right, it was awesome because I could look back and say, I did that. You know, I got that in under whatever seconds. And it honestly forced you to improve
your muscle memory suddenly.
Well, that and just take corners in a different way and do things in such a way that it was like you're actually getting better.
So Mirror's Edge is pretty good for that, right? Like I would actually quite enjoy doing that.
I've never played Mirror's Edge.
Oh, it's fun.
I know. I love the demo. I love the idea of it. I think I own a version of it, but I never played.
Yeah, it's worth the time. It's worth the effort. It's actually quite old now, but I think I've still not played number 2 yet. But I think I didn't hear much about it, so I'm guessing that means it wasn't that great. But who knows? So this next one is win a fight, cutscene shows you defeated, and that's so true. That irritates me to no end.
Where, like, especially, and I've had it where I've tried it where it was like, and go back and play it again and purposely do whatever I could to make it the win happen, and then still lose. I'm like, oh, you suck.
So that happens in WoW actually. If you go up to Arthas like at max level now, you can like one shot him, right? Like it's easy.
Yeah.
You one shot him and he's like, oh, I was just toying with you. You're like, no, you're not. Like I am so above you right now. You have no idea. I destroyed your entire army alone, right? I had my weapon unequipped and I looked at you and you crumpled. You know, like don't just sit there and tell me that you're. I hate that crap, man. I wish that the developers were just like, I don't know, just remove the cutscene. You can click on something to see it if you want to, but otherwise you just see the corpse. That'd make me happy.
Well, and I've seen, you know, it's funny is on occasion, it's rare though, but I have found some games where, man, the developers were smart and they came up with a lot of little off to the side. Most people will never see this kind of interactions with the game, but they did account for if you did this one stupid thing and beat it in a certain way or did this other thing that the game reacts accordingly. And I have loved design that included stuff like that, where it showed that these guys knew somebody was going to take the time to do the stupid thing I did. And they reward you with like your own experience for that. That to me is brilliant design. And it's funny because so many of these things can be done well, if not done in excess.
Yeah.
And so
I get that. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Companions that are glued to your ass despite having talents that would have been better put to use from afar. I spent half an hour on Vermeer trying to get Garrus to stay in his damned sniper perch to cover me before I gave up. That's a good point, right? Garrus was well known in the Mass Effect series for being a fantastic sniper. Why the hell is he up your ass?
Every time.
Constantly. Like, what are you doing, Garrus?
Yeah.
Chill out, man.
That any of those kind of mechanics, I've seen those.
Also, companions that are glued to your nose. Lost count of the number of times I damn near took Arcade Ganon's head off because he couldn't grasp the concept of staying behind me. And companions that stand in doorways, looking at you, Lydia. Fushmata!
So it's funny, right? Those things are why in most games where they've offered companions, I have ignored it completely.
Yeah,
like
right.
in all of Skyrim, I never used a companion because they just...
Oh, you've missed out, dude.
No, they were annoying as heck, especially when I would do the sneaky, snipey thing and stuff. Sorry,
what I meant to say was, it's actually quite a lot of fun when it's mod DLC ones.
Yeah, when you do all the things to make them better.
Fantastic. Like they have some of them have like 5 hours of dialogue. They have their own quest lines.
Oh, yeah, no, mod stuff makes the games amazing. It makes the followers actually useful in Skyrim. But I've run into that with a lot of different types of followers and stuff. In most cases, I just don't use them. The Fallout series, I would almost not use dog meat and stuff like that. Just because they do annoying things where I'm like, just stay at home and stay alive and I'll play the game how I want to. Well, it all depends. Some better than others. But almost every time there was at least one thing they would do that would just piss me off. And so I'd be like, nope, I'm done with you. Stay at home. I'm doing other things. So yeah, that's just my thought on things. But I could see again where each one of these are potentially like, so bad.
Yeah. So that's everything. There's loads more in that thread. 18,000 comments. I'm not going to go through them all. That's not the plan.
No, not all 18,000.
No. You're welcome to, though, if you want to.
Yeah, if you want to see what other gamers have been annoyed about, feel all free to do so. However, for us, it's time to go because it is the end of the show. And it is time for us to get out of here. And for those of you who are sticking around to jump into the Discord and play some games together, for at least myself to take off to go eat a whole lot of gluttonous food pre-Thanksgiving and to see if my pies came out and how alcoholic whipped cream topping works. So we'll see how that goes. And such. And so thank you, everyone, for joining in with us today. Ken, could you give us the lead out?
Absolutely. You've been listening to Show X live on VTWProductions.com. Thank you for listening in. You can find us on twitch.tv/showx, twitter.com/docdead, twitter.com/gox, and twitter.com/VTWShowX. You can find us on Facebook. Search for Showx there and find us there. Send us an emails to showx@VTWProductions.com. Feel free to support us on patreon.com/showx. Even $1 a month helps keep us afloat, and we appreciate that. And you can check us on reddit.com/r/showx. Go in there and see each show is posted there as well. So if you use Reddit, you can keep up to date with the show there too. And I think that's everything. Thank you very much for listening to us on the show. It's much appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll catch you again next week. If Ken is not here, don't worry. We're going to have our good friend John to come talk to us about his Sword of the Dragon series of books and what's new coming out for that. So check us next week for that, and we will catch you another time. Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Goodbye. See you next zombie.